Everyone wants to be liked, and you've been told that if people like you, everything else will fall into place. Success, love, respect, happiness. But deep down, you've already sensed the cracks in this fallacy. Because no matter how kind, agreeable, or accommodating you are, you continually get overlooked. You still get used. You still get ignored. And no matter how much you give, you don't seem to get anything in return. You've realized that it's not the nicest people who rise to the top and get what they want from life. And now you've realized that it's time to change. In this video, I'm going to show you why being liked never works, why the world secretly punishes the people who try hardest to be liked, and why it rewards those who are willing to be feared. We'll break down 4 dark truths that Machiavelli revealed centuries ago that explain why being likable might be the very thing that's holding you back in life. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the people who chase approval always lose control, and how mastering the 4 truths I'm about to share in this video will give you an edge so sharp that the world can never ignore you again. If you don't learn this today, you'll keep playing a rigged game that was never designed for you to win. But if you do learn it, you'll start to move like a warrior, and you'll become someone who doesn't need to be liked because you've already won. Niccolò Machiavelli was born in Florence during one of the most dangerous, politically unstable periods in European history. Empires rose and collapsed overnight, alliances shifted like shadows, and men who trusted too easily ended up dead or forgotten. While most philosophers were writing about how the world should work, virtue, justice, morality, Machiavelli was obsessed with how the world actually worked. He saw human nature not through rose-colored glasses, but through a brutal, honest lens. And what he saw terrified people, because he dared to say what no one wanted to admit, that being good is often powerless, and being liked is a distraction from what really matters: control, leverage, and survival. His book, The Prince, wasn't a manifesto for cruelty, like so many think. It was a manual for leaders trapped in a treacherous world, how to navigate betrayal, perception, and fear. And hidden in his teachings are 4 truths that, if you understand them, will free you from the exhausting trap of needing to be liked. Let's start with the first principle. Kindness without strength is useless. You've probably been praised your whole life for being nice, for going with the flow, avoiding confrontation, and helping others even when it costs you. And maybe you even believe that your goodness will eventually be recognized and rewarded. But Machiavelli saw something terrifying in this belief. It leaves you defenseless. When you are kind without the capacity to assert yourself, to defend yourself, to say no, and to mean it, your kindness becomes exploitation waiting to happen. In reality, people don't admire doormats. They use them. And the more kind you are without strength to back it up, the more invisible you become. Think about this for a moment. Remember that co-worker who takes on everyone else's tasks, the friend who always listens but never gets heard, or the partner who compromises so often they forget who they are. These people aren't thriving, they're surviving. Machiavelli knew that it wasn't enough to be good. A good man without power is food for the wolves. To truly earn respect, you must be capable of violence, emotional, verbal, even physical if necessary, and then choose restraint. That's what makes it noble. Because when your kindness is a choice, not a default, people feel it and they respect it. In fact, we like to think of kindness as a pure virtue, but when you scratch beneath the surface, much of what we call kindness is actually false and comes from lack. It's the compliment given not out of sincerity, but to secure favor. The favor done not from generosity, but from fear of disapproval. But Machiavelli saw through this instantly. He understood that when your kindness is driven by a need to be liked, it isn't really kindness at all, it's a manipulation. A quiet, desperate attempt to control how others see you. It looks like virtue, but it's rooted in fear. And ironically, this kind of nice behavior often breeds the very thing it tries to avoid: disrespect. Because when people sense that your actions come with unspoken expectations, they lose trust. Machiavelli would remind us, true power doesn't beg for approval with niceness. It stands firm without needing to be liked. If you feel resentment after doing something nice, that's your soul warning you. You're giving out of fear, not strength. You're trying to be liked to avoid conflict. But remember, conflict avoided becomes dignity lost. The next time you're tempted to soften your words, to agree when you don't, to give when it hurts, pause. Ask yourself, am I being kind, or am I being small? Kindness without boundaries is not goodness. It's weakness. And living in weakness is a dangerous place to live. But now, let's go deeper and explore the second principle. Because even when you start to set boundaries, many people fall into a subtler trap. They think that being right or good is enough to be respected. That if they just keep doing solid work, being ethical, showing up, people will notice. They won't. Machiavelli understood something we all need to hear. People don't follow the truth. They follow what looks like truth. In simple terms, they follow perception. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." It's one of the most disturbing and liberating insights ever written. We live in a world of impressions. People make decisions in seconds based on tone, posture, presence, and aesthetic. You can be the most competent person in the room, but if you don't look competent, if you don't carry yourself like someone who deserves authority, you'll be ignored. It's brutal, but it's the truth. The world isn't a meritocracy, it's a theater. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can stop being bitter and start being intentional. Now here's the good news. This is not about being fake. It's about learning how to communicate your value without apology. So how can you do this? Speak slowly. Dress with intention. Make eye contact and hold it. Speak less but mean more. And learn to use silence as a weapon. When you say something, stand by it. Don't over-explain. Don't rush to fill space. Don't dilute your presence to be more relatable. Power is not about noise. It's about gravity. And gravity comes from a deliberate presence, not a desperate one. So when you walk into a room, don't ask yourself, do they like me? Ask, how can I show my best self? Because whether you realize it or not, you're always being scanned. People are making judgments about your strength, your confidence, your potential. And if you don't shape those impressions, someone else will. People say, I shouldn't have to perform. But Machiavelli would say, you're always performing. The only question is, are you in control of the script? And even when people master this performance, many still remain trapped in the most seductive lie of all. And that brings us to the third principle. Universal approval is impossible. Because here's the truth Machiavelli knew. Trying to please everyone is the surest way to become nothing. Because to stand for something is to risk offending. And if you never offend, you never really stand. In his famous work, The Prince, he writes that a ruler must be prepared to act against generosity, compassion, and even morality when necessary. Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. Think about it for a second. What happens if you seek universal approval? What happens if you try to become liked by everyone? Actually, you already know this feeling. You've said yes when you meant no. You've smiled at people who disrespected you. You've avoided the hard truth because you didn't want to rock the boat. And each time, a little part of you disappeared. You were trying to be liked, and you thought it was safety. But in truth, it was self-erasure. What if you stopped? What if you let people be uncomfortable with your truth? What if you allowed someone to be disappointed in you and didn't rush to fix it? That's not cruelty, that's sovereignty. When you stop needing everyone's approval, something amazing happens. The right people start finding you. The ones who respect your boundaries, who admire your clarity, who value your presence, not because it bends, but because it doesn't. This won't be easy. At first, people will call you cold, selfish, and changed. Selfish, changed. That's the price of shedding the skin you outgrew. That's not just the cost of power. It's the cost of being able to live with yourself. But in time, you'll notice something else. You'll stop attracting the users, the manipulators, and the energy leeches. As if by magic, they'll start melting away because they can no longer suck the energy from you. And you'll start drawing in people who know how to treat you because you taught them how. But to truly seal this transformation, there's one final principle you must understand. One that most people are too afraid to even consider. Learn to use the power of controlled fear. Machiavelli never said to be cruel. He said to be calculating. To understand that fear, when used wisely, is far more effective than affection. Because people betray those they pity, but they rarely betray those they fear losing. Now, fear doesn't mean terror. It means consequence. It means someone knows that if they cross you, they will feel it, that you don't tolerate disrespect, that your silence is not weakness, it's a warning. Controlled fear is not about domination. It's about sending a signal that you are not to be played with, that your kindness has a line, that beneath your calm is a steel spine. You build this power not by being loud, but by being consistent. You don't chase. You don't explain yourself to people who've already made up their minds. You don't rescue people from the natural consequences of disrespecting you. And when someone tests your boundaries, you let the silence hang. You let them feel the discomfort. That's what teaches them. At first, you'll feel like the villain. People may pull away. They may guilt you. But what they're really reacting to is the shock of seeing you with power. The truth is, you're not being too much. You're finally being enough. And it scares them. Machiavelli wasn't trying to make people heartless. He was trying to make them free. Because when you stop chasing the illusion of being liked, you gain something real: respect, power, and most importantly, self-trust. You become untouchable, not because you're feared, but because you no longer need validation to breathe. Machiavelli understood that power doesn't belong to those who are liked. It belongs to those who are respected. And respect, in this world, is built not through constant kindness, but through courage, clarity, and consequence. You don't need to become a tyrant. You don't need to abandon your empathy. But you do need to stop performing for applause. Because when you stop trying to be liked, you become something far more interesting, real. And the real ones are the only ones worth following. So the next time you feel yourself shrinking to be liked, remember this: the world bends for those who move with purpose, not permission. And that is the truth Machiavelli knew all along.